Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli at Talkin Jake, BBD at Big Baby David. Talking a little ball. We'll go around the horn. I did a moment of realization. Jeff Passan filled in on Talking Baseball today. Trevor Plouffe calling a Twins Day game. And Jimmy at the Cricket World Cup. Wow. Look at that. Look how far we've come. And compliments to my boys, but also pretty cool. Jimmy was at the World Cup yesterday. Aaron Boone. So in the past 24 hours, Aaron Boone and Jeff Passan. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in and subscribing. Who was the better person, BBD?
Better. Who's the better guy?
Let's get ugly. We won't do that. Both were great, and I enthuse you to go check out both Talkin Yanks YouTube for Aaron Boone. And there was, Beebs, I haven't gone back and listened to it, but Booney hopped on with us before for a minute. I'm assuming you cut out that part of the convo.
Yeah. There's a pre-conversation that isn't in the episode.
Pretty wild for Juan Soto, because we were wondering how long it went, but there was they actually did a scary MRI. Boone was waiting for the news, and he got it in the tunnel before the Saturday game.
Yeah, it sounded like, he in his head, and he explained this to us pre-show, was like, oh, this isn't like the Dominguez thing. Dominguez could not hit and all that. But then in the moment where the results were in, the guy was like, boom, come here.
Yeah.
He said his stomach dropped.
Yeah. So Juan Soto's back and the Yankees are the best. They're bullying the Kansas City Royals, which that's been fun to watch at night. It'll be fun to watch the NBA Finals game tonight. Talk about that a little bit, even though we've covered the series a little. But more so want to recap the conversation with Brother Jeff, because it was, it's, in the moment, so focused on listening to him, because, hey, he's Jeff Passan. He's the voice of baseball. He's not. But kind of. And I don't know, I think it's and I'm not an expert in the field, but I think part of a good interview is listening and responding to whatever they come up with and being able to pivot off of parts of the conversation that you want to talk about. I wanted to dive back in and cover a couple of the topics that Jeff talked about. I think number one, and it's the fact that he brought it up, and it's been my Luis Heel conversation, is that pitching injuries are so prevalent that if you have pitching, you need to strike while the iron's hot, which, sure, there's the top-heavy teams in baseball right now. The Yanks look great. The Dodgers look great. The Phillies look incredible. And those teams are going to be in the mix come October. They've already done enough. Those teams, too big to fail. It's a phrase I use a lot that I think of Enron, which failed, so I don't know. I don't know. I should think of the car companies. Didn't we bail them out? I know nothing. I only know sports.
Those teams you just mentioned can kind of fully backpedal from here. Not fully, but you can be mid the rest of the way.
These teams that are very good could go 500 the rest of the way. They're in the playoffs, and it'll be, we're here in October. Roll the ball out there. Here's our best. Here's your best. The other side to it is now with expanded MLB playoffs and the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jake Snakes, guarding the pool, Game 5 of the World Series. There's a great note by Jeff that the other team that got there was in a very similar boat. The Texas Rangers kind of flunked the dunk down the stretch. They had an awful couple weeks leading into the postseason where they lost the West.
Mm-hmm. On the last day of the season, right?
The Mariners, I think it was the day before, because I know the Mariners played on the last day and their game didn't matter. That was George Kirby through the knuckleball. So it was kind of they had a disaster, 2 weeks before the final week of the season, so 3 weeks total. And the Mariners and Houston were in a Devils threesome to see who was going to make the playoffs. The Mariners end up flunking the dunk more than that, which we're going to talk some Mariners in a minute. But the Texas Rangers weren't the prettiest playoff team last year. Like, the AL was deeper and is currently deeper this year than the National League. But with that mindset going on, the two teams that got highlighted the most by brother Jeff, Mariners and the Pirates. Let's start with Seattle because I think that's a more fun conversation because they are first place in the AL West. They're on a 3-game win streak. They're 39-30, 6.5 up on Texas, who's 31-35. Houston's 31-37 for those of you keeping track at home. Not good. But Seattle, they have been good this year. You cannot like their offense. Who cares? In a year where there's parity throughout baseball, hey, the Seattle Mariners have a better record than the Atlanta Braves. The Seattle Mariners are a couple games off from the Brewers' pace, so I need to start giving them a little more love. And it all ties to their rotation at this point. They are now 1 through 5 with the breakout of Brian Wu. Who's the mustache man? Tech Mike was like, I like that guy's mustache. Bryce Miller. Seattle has a group of pitchers you do not want to come see playoff time. What Jeff brought up, and I thought about diving deeper into for this episode, but it didn't really have a great conversation, was just the prospect capital, which teams have prospect capital to trade. Mariners do, Orioles do. In a way, everyone kind of does, but supply and demand. But there's time to get to that. With the Mariners, Logan Gilbert, 14 starts, a 3.19 ERA. Sure. Luis Castillo, 14 starts, 3.35. Kirby, 3.81. Bryce Miller, 3.81. Brian Wu, in his 6 starts, 33.2 innings, a 1.07 ERA. So, they got 5 right now. And they've got other prospects hanging around, Emerson Hancock, a couple other guys. Andres Munoz on the back end. There's going to be no complaints there. Could you see them getting a more pure setup guy? Yeah, but they really believe in what they do in their bullpen formula, so we'll see what that looks like. It's the hitting, and Julio, we've talked about. His numbers are starting to climb. Let's see where he is by the end of the year. I've decided I'm all in on Cal Raleigh. I know the numbers don't jump off the page. 211 batting average, 290 on base. That's not great. But the power's there, 704 OPS, a 105 OPS plus. So you do have to factor in playing in Seattle a little bit. I love Cal Raleigh's at-bats, and I forgot that this is a theory that I'm going to keep pushing my narrative. Catchers matter more. They just straight up do. I did this last postseason. Every team had a primary catcher in the mix that was super important. Let's see if anything changes with our Phillies. JT Realmuto getting knee surgery. Again, I doubt it. Too big to fail. He keeps saying that. I love Cal Raleigh. I was doing... There's been some hot takes around the office recently. / Jason Kidd kicked it off by saying Jaylen Brown is better than Tatum. Let's mix it up. Why not? I was debating doing Cal Raleigh's better than Julio. I probably don't want to actually say those words. But I'm about Cal Raleigh. And I'm about Julio. That the Mariners need to go and get. And whether that's Pete Alonso, which Yankees internet having a little fun with me right now because I said the Yankees don't need Pete Alonso. But that's only because the Yankees don't need Pete Alonso. They have a lot of righty mauling power hitters. They have a lot of not athletic guys. Sorry, Pete. Pete Alonso is one of my
defenders.
Pete Alonso is one of my favorite players. He's a beast. He's a traditional power hitter that can hit 50 homers in any season. The Yankees would love to have Pete Alonso.
He would make the Yankees better, but is he the first ever player without any flaws? No.
Pete Alonso For me, it goes back into that supply and demand, and I mentioned the prospect capital that matters a little bit. Pete Alonso on the Seattle Mariners makes them a World Series contender. Pete Alonso on the New York Yankees makes them more of a World Series competitor. And don't get me wrong, like we would start daydreaming, and there would be some highlight games where Judge, Alonso, Stanton, Rizzo, Soto. Like, think about those guys. Those guys have been icons on different teams. Stanton, MVP with the Marlins. Rizzo, king of the world with the Cubs. Soto, king of the world with the Nats. Judge, like a living legend. Pete Alonso, the king of Queens. Yes, would love Pete Alonso on the Yankees, and we'll figure out the rest. But where the chips are going to fall, the Yankees aren't going to pay the price for Alonso, and other teams would need him more. That the Ryan McMahon thing that Passan mentioned in his article, and I've been yelling for a while. It is fun. I forgot how much second base Ryan McMahon has played. Mm-hmm. That Ryan McMahon would be the perfect, not only good ball player, but also if third base falls apart for the Yankees and DJ/Oswaldo, okay, here's Ryan McMahon. Won a Gold Glove at the position. Pretty sweet lefty swing, Yankee Stadium. We've done that. Let's say it clicks. DJ LeMahieu starts hitting like DJ LeMahieu in 2019, 2020. He had another good stretch. Was that 2022?
First half 22, second half of 23.
Second half of 23 was his good on-base stretch?
He had an 800 OPS second half last year.
Okay. DJ clicks for the Yankees. But Gleyber Torres is struggling. A potential platoon option either way. Or, this is Gleyber's contract year. Things aren't working out. Gleyber's been hitting great lately. The defense is super sus. Anthony Rizzo at first base just got benched for 2 days because he was swinging a wet noodle at the plate. That Ryan McMahon, I don't need to backpedal that. Ryan McMahon is a better piece for the Yankees right now. Pete Alonso is a better baseball player. That's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Although Ryan McMahon's kind of good. Don't look at the OPS plus. That's my ask.
Not that his is in a bad spot now, but a lot of Yankees considerations at the deadline. We all are pretty in agreement. It's at least Gleyber's last year here, potentially Rizzo's as well. So players like McMahon or Rengifo or, play multiple positions and give you options for going into next year.
Flexibility this year.
Be awesome.
Flexibility next year. We'll see what the Yankees do at the deadline. Their chips are obviously all in on the table, and they're going to see what's out there, but it could be interesting. But for Seattle, this is not the year. The Astros are down this year. Are they going to come back? We'll see. Texas is currently down. Are they going to come back? I think a little bit. Simeon's been going nuts. Scherzer's on his way back. We're going to see Molly, DeGrom. Texas won the World Series last year. If you can get into the MLB playoffs with an 86 wins, that's still very on the table for those teams. If you're Seattle, you have a chance to win the West. When's the last time Seattle won the West? It's a fun game. Seattle Mariners franchise page. Oh, no.
It's a while ago.
The Seattle Mariners have not won the West since 2001, where they won 116 games. And they're like a footnote in Major League history as one of the best teams to never win. Here we are, 23 years later, looking for a first. Seattle. Let's go. Let's go. Make the moves. I don't know if it's Alonso. I don't know if it's Luis Robert. Pairing him and Julio. Sick. Fighting for center field. Maybe just play two outfielders. That was always my dream. Seattle, go and support your young pitching and bring in some hitting. It's a no-brainer. You have to do it.
Jason Dominguez rehab assignment is over.
Okay.
Prior to tonight's game, the Yankees returned Jason Dominguez from his rehab assignment, and they've optioned him to AAA. John Brady did the 60-day. Joe's and I were doing some Dominguez math. I think he just played 9 innings back-to-back days. you would think today being the second of them, so probably DH or off tomorrow through the weekend. Maybe then you can think about another decision.
He's been hitting a lot. I don't think they're going to call him up until...
Yeah, I thought decision day might come Monday.
Until someone goes down. So the other team that is becoming a part of the forefront of a lot of conversations is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens is doing funny business on the mound. 6 starts, 2.43 ERA, 46 strikeouts, and 33.1 innings. Pitched yesterday against St. Louis, 6.1, 0 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. They are, let me double check the game logs. On Skeens Day, they are 5-1. The one game they lost was that crazy San Francisco Giants comeback from a couple weeks ago that they lost 7-6. Our friend Jared Jones, who visited the office, he's throwing cheese. He's been really strong for them this year. 13 starts, a 3.21. Handsome. Not as tall as you'd expect a pitcher to be. No offense. No offense, Jared. I'll root for you. And Mitch Keller, who Mitch Keller kind of broke out. The final stats of his big season didn't look too impressive. Like last year, he landed at a 4.21 ERA, which you're like, okay. But again, ERA isn't everything. That he had 210 strikeouts over 194 innings. Go look at some of the highlights of how his pitches are moving. Yo. They have a 3-headed monster at the top of their rotation right now in a National League that still just remains unclaimed. Like, not necessarily the divisions. It's looking like Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers. Everything else is open. I've done the National League standings with you guys a few times, and just how lame/exciting the wild card is. Right now, currently in the playoffs as we record this, are the San Francisco Giants at 33-35. Yikes. With a minus 29 run differential. Actually, they're more or less tied with Pittsburgh. So you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, another organization not hanging a ton of banners recently, that you have stumbled into pitching. Sure, you can find pitching, I think, a little more easy than in the past because we have all this pitching technology and where people are throwing harder and ever, that we're seeing these guys have moments. The thing is, the pitching injuries are insane, and you can't control them, and you don't know when it's going to happen. And Jeff laid it out amazingly for Pittsburgh. If you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, let's say the pitching, you keep running out this year, the Pirates land around 500, they miss the playoffs by 3 games. Hey, we're excited for Pirates baseball next year. Hoo-wee. Okay, next spring training, forearm tightness. Pick one of the 3 pitchers. This happens to every team. Go look at Houston's injuries right now. I'll give my Astros some love. The Houston Astros, everyone's going, whoa, Houston, is this happening? We've done the conversation from the start of the year. Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia. There's 4, man. JV started the year on the IL. Framber had an IL stint. Their starting pitching is still 22nd in ERA, 25th in WHIP. Injuries happen, windows open and close so quick in baseball that if you're the Pirates, they've kept half a window open, and partially because the National League is kind of buns right now. Within that last wild card spot, within a game, is the Giants, the Pirates, the D-backs, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Cardinals. And the Nats. 7 teams within 1 game. Some of this is going to separate. I don't think the Nats even want to be involved. They just won 4 games in a row. So right now in the National League, that keeps almost any team alive. That the Pittsburgh Pirates and I agree with Jeff, and it sucks. The injury thing with the pitchers is a nightmare. But like he said, if one of them goes down next year, you're out for basically a year and a half. Okay, so one might go down the next year. And now, when's Mitch Keller becoming a free agent? And, then do you not have a full rotation? Do you not have the three that everyone focuses at come playoff time? So, I agree with him, and I think sometimes we land in, there's a chance that every trade deadline the rest of the way could be rougher because more teams are going to be in the mix. That buying can be tough because a lot of teams will want to buy and talk themselves into it. If the Detroit Tigers are 3 games out of the wild card, they've been looking for some positivity. It might be tough for them to sell a Jack Flaherty, and then instead they might want to add something small. If you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, you got a good baseball town. You got 3 pitchers shoving right now. And there's one thing you can't control, which is the injury. So if you have them now, I would love to see them make a push for some hitting. And you just wonder how significant of a piece that is. Would they go big fish? Deep sea fishing is the phrase. I was going to say big fish dishing. Not words. Not words. Jeff opened up my eyes a little bit that I think you could look at the Pirates, the Giants, the Snakes, the Cubs, the Reds, and be like, yeah, you'd love to see these teams go one way or the other. Pirates, now's our time. You called up Skeens, the first next pitcher since blank. Fill it in however you want. Strasburg, there's a couple others. You called him up. His clock is ticking. How long is he going to be in Pittsburgh? 5 years? Hopefully for you guys, 6, because that means you're in it that final year you have Paul Skeens. The clock is ticking. It's time to go. Go trade for some hitting. I don't know if it's the Marlins. I don't know if the Rockies are doing business. That Pete Alonso guy we talked about. Mets are going to sell. Good. That's what they want to do. They've already done that. White Sox, if Lou Bob's actually on the table. Angels have some pieces here and there. We'll see if Houston actually gets sad. I think the other team that's going to be wild, and Jeff brought it up, not me. And I've said this before, the Rays. The Rays love to sell. Even when they're winning, they love to sell.
Well, when they're in first place, they sell.
They're constantly retooling that. Hopefully for them, Randy Arozarena plays a little more like Randy Arozarena in the coming weeks. Because, that's a guy, not only is there a little bit of star power, which in baseball we don't have a ton of. Hey, if you really think you're going to the postseason, wouldn't it be too shabby to put that guy in your lineup? Because it comes back to my old rule of what does the other team not want? I don't want to see Randy Arozarena hitting against my team in the playoffs, man. I've seen that story. The best to ever do it, Randy Arozarena. Let me go look at some playoff stats just to keep myself excited. 1.1 career in the playoffs, 33 games.
Yuck.
I think he had one bad playoff series against. Oh, that was 2 games. He one-dotted in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He one-dotted OPS-wise in 5 straight playoff series. 2 bad games against Cleveland, and then 375 batting average, 500 slugging in 2 games against Texas in last year's wild card. So, if you're the Rays, you don't want to trade Randy right now because I think he's banged up and the OPS is sitting at 602. So we need to see Randy get it going a little bit. I did hear it was his hamstring, and just slightly biasly on our DraftKings over-under episode, we did take the under on Randy Arozarena steals. So I'm rooting for Randy to mash. Give me the mashed potatoes, Randy. But take it easy around in the bases.
Yeah. Pick your spots on some first to thirds.
No, it's another. I mean, obviously no one is ever safe on the Rays, so you can look at Brandon Lau, like his Where's he at in his contract status? He's got team options the next 2 years for $10.5 million and $11.5 million. Looking for some lefty pop, second base, corner outfield. Like, what's his career high in homers in a season? 39. And that was 2021, which wasn't juice balls. I think some balls were hot that year.
I think that was a year that it was all mixed.
I think the balls were warm that year. And then the other one that, if you're looking to play some trivia with your pals later, Yandy Diaz, who in one of our Jam baseball videos, I think it's coming on like 2 months, so no real tease here. 2023 batting champion, Yandy Diaz. Last year, Yandy was 330, 410 on base, and 932 OPS. And he is under contract $10 million next year with a team option for 12 and 26. Rays gonna raise, baby. I think they're going to be hot in the market. And let's go back to Pittsburgh and Seattle and the pitching injuries and everything we just said. Tampa is missing Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, and Jeffrey Springs right now. So, the name value on the last two, if you're not deep in the weeds of baseball, might not move the needle. But Springs and Rasmussen were awesome. And then McClanahan, one of the best young lefty pitchers in the game, one of the best young pitchers in the game. They're getting 3 new starting pitchers next year. So Seattle, Pittsburgh, well, you've got the arms that are doing it right now. Let's use them because there's just no guarantee with the pitching injury. The guarantee is the pitching injuries are going to come. It's just you don't know when. Kind of sad. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Well, you've got all 3.
Go
for it.
I mean,
you got a chance.
Why not? Why not? And maybe the Rays and Pirates need to link up. Go get Yandy Diaz for 2 years. Like if you're Pittsburgh and you need to think of it not as rentals, then go out and get a good ball player. Go get someone that can hit. Because you got a couple arms right now. Trying to think, is there anything else from Jeffrey there that got me excited? Not really. I think those are the 2 biggest standout things. Would love the guard dogs to get in the mix, but I'm not going to hype myself up for that. We're about a month till the All-Star break. So I started daydreaming and should probably get in the schedules. I know that Houston has an easy-ish schedule coming up. But, a part of that was playing the Giants, and they lost the first game. They won the second game. And did the Giants just win? I just went to click they're playing live. Yeah, the Giants just won. So you're Houston. I mean, those are the teams on the schedule you got to start beating right now. They're playing Detroit next. Detroit is San Francisco. Both these teams have been better than Houston. Now, they do have 1 White Sox series on the schedule and 1 Miami series on the schedule before the break. But I don't know. You need to start winning some of these other series because you just dropped one to San Francisco. And I don't know. If they get the right offer, everything I said about Randy Arozarena standing in the box, Alex Bregman's standing in the box. So, we check out the comments. Go leave some comments on the YouTube if you've got either players or teams you're targeting, or maybe you've got some prospect that you think is going to be hot in the streets come the deadline. Trying to gather all the info we can because it's still new, just the new format of the trade deadline. Well, not the format of the trade deadline, but with the format of the playoffs with this trade deadline that I don't know. Is it going to change every year, or is each year going to be extra sloppy? With all those expanded spots. The basketball. I'm hyped. We got a big one tonight. Game 3, the Celtics dominate. They take the first 2 games. Sure, the Mavs gave them a little scare in that second one, and I think the way Simmons phrased it was he said the Celtics played their greatest hits Horrible shooting night from 3, some bad shot selection, blown lead down the stretch. They were hitting all of it. The only thing I'd say is Luka hasn't gotten any help so far, really. Kyrie hasn't had like a moment or even a game, or I guess you'd say a game or even a moment. And I think I saw his team, anyone not named Luka Doncic, shooting 3-point shots for the Dallas Mavericks. They're shooting at a 15% clip so far in the NBA Finals. And the biggest thing, I think, is that Kristaps. We got word he's got a unique knee injury. Okay, sure. What's that about? A guy with a lengthy injury coming into this series. We don't know if he's going to play tonight. We got Woj and Shams beefing a little bit, whether he's going to go. And this is the obvious stuff, but we can state the obvious. If Boston goes up 3-0, it's officially over. I think their record at that point is like, what are they, 80-19 on the season or something like that when you include the playoff games. They're crazy. They have an incredible season. They have a really strong team with a couple great players. Which one's better, Jason Kidd? Like, up 3-0. It's over. It's Jover. If Dallas, who's going back home with the best player on the court, and with Boston losing Kristaps, who is a difference maker for them. He's been a difference maker in these first 2 games. So whether Kristaps plays and he's limited, or if Kristaps doesn't play, and Dallas wins tonight, the series will feel different. And it'll lead to a big game 4. And I'm not telling you Dallas is going to win it. And I've mentioned my biases on this program. I want to see the Celtics having to go back home on Game 5 and defending a 2-2 series. Our Celtics expert in the office, Zoe, says there's no way it's happening. He says they probably lose tonight. You can't fake desperation. The Mavs will have that in spades because, like I said, otherwise the season's over. I do think it was labeled 80-20, and I think that was the right way to label it, that it's 80% the Mavs win this game. Luka plays well. Maybe Kyrie goes nuts for a quarter. PJ Washington or Derek Jones contribute. Maybe Dallas's lobs are back because Kristaps is off the court. A desperate team, a desperate home game. That's kind of how this works, right? There's also a chance Boston's just a great team. They're a bad matchup for Dallas, or a good matchup for them. And they could break them. Like Luka's banged up. That could easily be the story in the second quarter. Luka's not moving well. Celtics got a lead. Celtics haven't shot great yet. What if they just go nuts from 3? So, as a sports fan, and I do think this is fair, and sorry to all my Celtics friends, win tonight, Dallas. Let's make it 2-1, however it feels. Then Game 4 is at least fun, and if the Celtics win, that's probably it. I bet on the Celtics to win in 6. That was a little bit of the office consensus. I guess here's my thing. Tatum, who's come under scrutiny because of Jason Kidd's comments, and everyone's kind of a little bit of a Tatum hater, which stinks, but I'm like on the bus, so I don't know what to do about that. I want to see this Boston team that gets a ton of shit from the critics, and I guess I'm one of them, for different reasons. Jalen couldn't dribble. He got the biggest contract ever, whatever. Tatum, being a Celtics guy that idolizes a Lakers player, that draws some ire. Missoula's just kind of a weird guy. We've all moved past that because he's coached really well this year. Remember, that was the Celtics story last postseason. It was like, Missoula, the head coach. I don't know. I don't believe in it. Rookie head coach. He's going to blow this. Not about him. I want to see that Celtics team. Like, no one's ever been into Derek White just because, like, the bald beard thing surprised everyone at first. And it's like, where'd you come from, dude? But he's electric. He's awesome. I want to see those Celtics, Game 5 on their home court, That's when I can become not a fan of these Celtics. I'm not going to be a fan of any Celtics team. But that's where I could be like, yes. Like if the Mavs punch back, you got punched in the mouth. Your playoff run up until this point, you haven't seen a lot of opposition. And that's not your fault. Like,
You can only play the team you're assigned to.
In the words of the beautiful Joe's McFly, if my Yankees went on a playoff run and the other teams, all their pitchers were hurt, that's none of my business.
Mm.
The Arizona Diamondbacks, look at the Dodgers pitchers they faced last year in the playoffs. That's none of their business. They just went out there and hit and won the game. I want to see that Celtics group. Like, that's nuts on the line. Everyone has them hanging the banner. And honestly, in a couple hours, it could happen. And why do I need to see their nuts on the line? They just had a dominant season, a dominant run. God, if there was like sports fan bank accounts that you can contribute to something, give me that Game 5 in Boston with Tatum's heart on the line, with Brown's heart on the line, White, obviously Drew, although he's already in. He's already good with me. Missoula. And then if they do it and Tatum balls out in that game, like, I won't talk. I won't talk about it. But I don't know. I might just be daydreaming right now because I think Celts do get one of the next two. We'll see if that's tonight. So I got excited to watch. 8:40 tip, something like that.
Something like that.
And I don't know. Dallas, Luka, what you just did to Minnesota. I like to think they'll find something. Maybe they won't. I hope you guys found what you were looking for here today. Send them, Beebs.
Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.